You should
Right,
record
all
that.
the swear words out. Fuckity.
Dickety dick, fuck. Whoop, whoop. Ding dong. Fuck.
It was like the movie last night that you slept through.
Mm.
At one point, they were going, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
We're going live on Alpha Geek, so all right.
Kicked in the dick. Kicked in the dick.
Okay, we're now live on Alpha Geek Radio.
And now I'm done.
All right. I'm going to start recording the audio, and let's start. I'm going to turn my mic down, and we'll get the show on the road, as they say. So here we go.
You are listening to Alpha Geek Radio.
The following is a production of Galactic Netcasts.
Interrupt this program to give you a bulletin just received from one of our naval units at sea. A large object traveling at supersonic speed is headed over the North Atlantic toward the east coast of the United States.
This earth of yours will be reduced to a burned-out cinder.
This could be the beginning of the end for the human race. Human beings cower before the onslaught of these unearthly enemies.
It is Thursday, February 25th, 2016. Later on this year, we'll be 5 years old. And welcome to the Alien Invasion number 175, a production of Galactic Netcasts. I'm Dave Nelson. That's me. And those guys, Brad Ludwig and Anessa Moyens. How you guys doing?
Good.
Excellent.
Anything interesting happen over the last week?
I probably said jalapeno at least 20 times tonight at the drive-thru at Burger King.
Why? They didn't understand what you were saying, or what was going on?
I don't know. Like, at first I thought it was because there was a loud truck that drove by. I'm like, okay, I get that. Lots of background noise, busy road, got it. But she understood all of my order except for the jalapeno. And she's like, I'm sorry, what? I'm like, jalapeno. She's like, I'm not understanding. Jalapeno. Jalapeno. No, didn't get it.
It must be your thick Texas accent.
So finally, I'm like, hot peppers. And she's like, oh, jalapenos?
Did you get to a point where you were saying it so many times that it sounded funny? You know how you say a word over and over again, and anything happens for any word, the more you say it, the funnier it sounds.
And it's one of those things where, like, I'm going through my head. I'm like, how do people say it? I didn't think I was saying it with a really big, like, Hispanic accent, like jalapeno or something. You know, I had whitened it up, as they say.
I think we have a title.
Your white
little raises.
Whitened it up.
But no, it's funny because I mean, like, I've had friends and I've had people point out that certain words I say has a Hispanic accent because those words originate in Spanish. So I say them as I've always heard them growing up. And it's funny because, like, for example, you know, like, quesadilla, like, that's how I've always said it. But when I'm talking to people that aren't like my mother, you know, it's like quesadilla. You just lay off the accent a little bit. And I've had friends that are like, you shouldn't whiten it up. Like, you're saying it right, so they need to deal with it. I'm like, but I'm just trying to make life easier for people.
trying to blend in. I understand.
Trying to blend in.
You know what, Vanessa, you're like one of those news anchors that will be doing, like, reading a story, and they'll be perfectly, like, as white as you can be accent, and all of a sudden, like, a Spanish word will come up, and they'll totally, like, say it how you're supposed to say it, but it sounds odd because it's just like all of a sudden you're speaking a different language, you know?
Yeah, and it's just funny. So I've gotten to where, like, I try to just automatically tone down the Spanish accent, or I guess whiten it up.
You know what?
It sounds racist. I'm not trying to be,
no,
but
I totally understand. But that happens to everybody, no matter where you go, because I'll be around a certain type of people, and a certain accent will come out. Like, if I'm around like a bunch of Canadians, I will sound more Canadian. But if I'm talking to you guys, I will sound more like from the States. If that.
Yeah, I totally understand. And it's like if I'm around someone who has a Southern accent, or
Yep.
really more, not so much Southern, but more hick, I suppose, because my Southern accent is very exaggerated. I was like, I declare, I've got the vapors. That's my Southern accent. But I'm talking more like country, Western, hick accent. I'll start to slip into that accent if I'm around someone long enough.
All right. Let's let's jump into what
that was linguistic.
What's that?
I said, and that was linguistics. Now to aliens.
That's fine. I like to start the show with something non-alien related, and we did that. We accomplished it. So let's move on to talking about extraterrestrials. That's why we're all here. It is the Alien Invasion podcast, and we divide the show into 3 sections: the news, the sightings, and our picks for the week. Couple of things want to say before we get into the news. Want to thank Alpha Geek Radio for letting us stream our audio and video every week at alphageekradio.com. Also, I actually have 3 things. Follow us on Twitter, join our Facebook group, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. All the links at our website, gncasts.com. And if you are a Patreon, if you're a patron, a pledger to our Patreon account, we are going to be recording our bonus episode for February tonight. If you're not a member of our Patreon, why can't I say that right? If you're not a patron yet, if you haven't pledged a certain amount a month at $5 level yet, you can still get in on this month's bonus podcast episode. Just go to patreon.com/galactic netcasts. All right, let's get into things. Let's get it on, as they say.
In the news.
Brad.
Oh, wait, I'm up?
Yeah.
Aw, yeah. Wait, what?
Bam! Okay, so Dave sent this my way, and very, very interesting. I love the science. I love the science articles. This comes to us from express.co.uk. Aliens could be living on 700 quintillion planets in the universe.
Holy hell.
Only a couple tree or no?
Yeah, you betcha.
Oh, cha-cha.
Yeah, speaking of accents, Wisconsin.
Come to the UP and have a pasty. Oh, yeah. Scientists have estimated there are 700 quintillion planets in the universe which could harbor alien life, but none are quite like Earth. That just kind of makes sense to me. That, I mean, you know, despite the fact that there are so many planets, you're only going to have a certain set of circumstances that will give you the outcome of a particular planet.
So basically, they're doing the whole snowflake scenario.
Yeah, essentially. But let's get into it. The staggering number, which is 700 followed by 18 zeros. That's a lot of zeros. Was generated by international researchers using a computer simulation. Astronomer Eric Zackerson, oh, there we go, from Uppsala University in Sweden, entered all the earliest galaxies in the universe as well as data on exoplanets. They then put the simulation through a time lapse of 13.8 billion years, the age of the universe. Co-author Andrew Benson from the Carnegie Observatories in California said, "It's kind of mind-boggling that we're actually at a point where we can begin to do this. However," he admitted that the simulation may not be wholly accurate. Mr. Benson added, it's certainly the case that there are a lot of uncertainties in a calculation like this. Our knowledge of all these pieces is imperfect. Mr. Zackerson added, everything we know about exoplanets is from a very small patch in our galaxy. Cosmologist Max Tegmark of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, why don't they just say MIT? Massachusetts Institute of Technology said that logic must dictate that there isn't life anywhere else but here. Really? He said, if you have all these civilizations that had a 3.5 billion year head start on us, why haven't they colonized our galaxy? Yeah, I guess. To me, the most likely explanation is that if the planets are a dime a dozen, then highly intelligent life evolves only rarely. Okay, I can see his point there. But you'd think 700 quintillion planets. I mean, even if you just pulled out 1% of that, or a 0.5%.
Well, look at all the different versions of Earth in the DC universe, right?
There's 52. Yes. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
they're slightly. So maybe there's another planet like Earth, but not exactly like Earth, with just slight differences.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see their points to this. That said, yeah, well, I mean, we are looking at different windows of time, basically. A civilization can rise and fall within, a certain time period, which in the grand scale of things is actually kind of short if we were working with 13.8 billion years. So, yeah, I get it. So hopefully, with all of the interesting things that have been going on, like I don't know if you saw the news story of them doing an even more detailed picture of the Milky Way. They've only got 140 degrees of the Milky Way.
What does that mean?
They've taken a picture of 140 degrees of the sky, basically. Okay. And hopefully they can start taking pictures on the other side of the planet and maybe start stitching everything together.
Oh, I understand, because they can only see a certain portion of the sky, right?
Correct.
Right, and our view changes as we orbit the sun and rotate and all that good stuff. So as we make our way around the sun each year, they're able to photograph different portions of the sky. Plus, you have the whole axial tilt thing that kind of makes you view different things at different times of the year.
Okay. Now, about these planets, if we want to survey all of these planets, we need to get busy.
Oh, yeah.
No, I mean, if we're going to become a intergalactic species someday and inform Starfleet like the prophecies suggested, or prophecies proclaimed, we need to the great prophet Gene Roddenberry proclaimed in 1965.
I think one, it is good to explore, to observe different objects and stuff outside of our solar system, because what we learn about our neighbors here in the solar system, other planets, as well as other galaxies in the universe, that kind of helps us understand how we came to be and whether or not there is a possibility of life on other planets. It'll still be a very long time before we make it out of our solar system as a species, but yeah, it's a good way to start learning about how we early exploring, I guess.
By the
you
time
start coming up with ideas and whatnot, and then eventually we might be able to go out and check to see if some of our hypotheses are correct.
The more you know. NBC was right. I think the more we learn before we actually venture out, the better we'll be off. The better off we'll be once we start venturing off.
Right.
Because you don't want to bump into the Borg. That would suck.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, let's move on to story number 2. You were done, right, Brad? That was it?
Yes, that was most certainly it.
Okay. Let's move on to something a little more in the fiction area. Less science, more fiction. New, the X-Files novels to follow teenage Mulder and Scully in the late 1970s. Now, before you get all freaked out that you think it's going to be them together, it's not. It's not going to be like a what do they? How they say that in retcons? They're not retconning the origin story of Mulder and Scully. It's going to be separate adventures in the year 1970. What was it? What did I say?
You said the 70s.
Okay, so 79 actually.
79. Yep.
With whispers of a second revival season already rumbling, Chris Carter said that it's going to happen. He just doesn't know when. A new series of young adult novels are heading the opposite direction with the X-Files back in time. Get ready to meet Teenage Mulder and Teenage Scully. Imprint Macmillan Children's Publishing Group is set to publish 2 novels as part of the X-Files Origins, with each book focusing on one of our titular characters or titular heroes during their formative years. And I already covered that part. It'll take part in spring of 1979 and will follow their life-changing events. Basically, the thing that happened that year that drove them to pursue their paths in life, that led them to eventually become part of the X-Files, I guess. So here is what some guy said. When I watched the pilot episode back in 1993, I became immediately obsessed with the X-Files, says Aaron Stein, publisher of Imprint, said via Entertainment Weekly. As a diehard fan of the show, the opportunity to work with incredible authors on original stories about these characters is a dream come true for me. Why did Mulder become a believer? Why did Scully become a skeptic? We get to tell these stories. The Mulder-focused story is dubbed Agent of Chaos and will be written by New York Times best-selling author Cami Garcia. Scully's tale is Devil's Advocate, and it'll be penned by Bram Stoker Award winner Jonathan Maberry. If nothing else, they've definitely attracted some solid talent to put these stories together. Both books are set to hit shelves January 2017. So you guys both being fans of the X-Files, I know you are you interested in reading these books?
I think once I hear more about maybe the plot, just like a general outline, like, hey, and, join Scully as she does science or something. I can't think of anything. As she struggles with her skepticism and beliefs of, religion. I have no idea. I guess it just depends on kind of like how they make things work. I'm sure there will be maybe some paranormal experiences and whatnot. So maybe.
Do you think the Mulder story is going to follow his sister being abducted? Do you think that is the thing that was the life-changing experience that they talked about in this article?
They talk about his sister so much throughout the series. I don't see how they couldn't acknowledge it during his teenage years.
They can't avoid it.
Yeah.
Because he was essentially how old was he? Like 12 or something?
Yeah.
So he was just approaching his teenage years, and so he's going to have to adjust with life without Samantha.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, probably going to have questions.
A form of survivor's guilt.
Yeah, like why am I here? Like, why isn't Samantha here? Samantha should be here celebrating. Samantha should be here having her birthday. It should be Samantha going to her first field trip or something. Yeah, I don't know. But you get what I'm saying. They make it such a big part of the show. I don't see how it couldn't be, because of like how they couldn't mention Samantha in some way, shape, or form. And maybe that kind of gets him interested in trying to research the paranormal to try to find the answers for Samantha. But then, man, that's a really long time of searching.
Well, okay, I was doing the math real quick. If he was 12 years old in 1979, that would have made him 26 in 1993. Was that about the same? Is that about the right age that Mulder would have been?
Because I think he was written as late 20s, early 30s when he initially started.
Yeah.
I don't remember their ages when they started out. And their characters' ages, that is.
I know. I think Mulder was supposed to be older than Scully. I know their actual ages, like the actors' ages. I know Gillian Anderson was very young, like in her early 20s.
Yep.
Yeah, 'cause I think she was supposed to be like late 20s or something when she started.
Okay.
Well, I mean, like her character.
Yeah.
Came on the show when she started with the X-Files.
Again, these books will be out in January 2017. And I was thinking they haven't nailed down a date for the second season of the revival series, right? But
No, they were talking about it.
January of this year was when the series debuted. So maybe they're thinking if it does come on for a second season, that's when it'll come on again, was January.
I can see that because a lot of shows tend to stick with the same time frame, like same time of year, same season, as it were.
Yeah.
So it's kind of unusual to have something start, say, in April one year and then like July or something, it suddenly comes back. That would just be weird.
Yeah,
and I mean, you get like the weird mid-season finales and breaks and stuff, but that's usually around the holidays.
Doctor Who has changed their release schedule. Like they've gone from a summer to a fall, spring to a summer to a fall, back to like they're going back
to like a year later, and year and a half.
Going back to a late spring release for the next series, I think. Right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but most shows, for the most part, tend to say, "Okay, we're gonna have our season premiere in late fall or early spring or summer or whatever it might be."
Okay, so and for those that want a more detailed and in-depth discussion about the new X-Files series, you can listen to both Exploring the X-Files on our network on Galactic Netcasts, or Kevin and Sean Burns, who are the hosts of that show, are going to be the guests on this week's Sci-Fi Geeks Club. So we'll be talking about it a little bit there. But if you want the whole 9 yards, the in-depth analysis of the final episode of that short season, whatever you want to call it, check out Exploring the X-Files. You can find it at our website, gncasts.com. All right, moving on to our third and final story. Anessa, what do you got?
Aliens. Surprise!
What?
No, really?
So there's a Navy engineer who says that he has seen ancient ruins, aliens, and top secret bases in Antarctica. On January 2nd, 2015, the editor of website earthfiles.com received a very unexpected letter from an alleged retired U.S. Navy petty officer, first-class flight engineer. Mouthful. The letter received recounts experiences where the anonymous Navy officer, refers to himself as Brian, recounts his bizarre and extraordinary experiences flying cargo and rescue in Antarctica between the years 1983 to 1997. He claims that a collaboration between humans and aliens exists, and that the Antarctica is a major research ground for these incredible collaborations. Brian's high strangeness experiences flying cargo and rescue in Antarctica were for some reason, that repeated. Or maybe I'm repeating. Oh my gosh, there's a glitch in the Matrix.
What?
So anyway, during this time period, he made several observations of aerial silver discs darting over the Transantarctic mountains. He and his crew also saw ancient ruins and a big hole in the ice only about 5 to 10 miles from the geographic South Pole. And that was supposed to be a no-fly zone. Bum, bum, bum. But during an emergency medvac situation, they entered the no-fly zone and saw what they were not supposed to see: an alleged entrance to a human and ET science research base created under the ice. Then, at a camp near Marie Birdland, some dozen scientists disappeared for 2 weeks, and when they reappeared, Brian's flight crew got the assignment to pick them up. Brian says they would not talk and their faces looked scared. In the strange letter sent to Earth Files, the officer states that he experienced such things as silver discs darting around the Transantarctic mountains. During an emergency, they entered a no-fly zone and saw an entrance to a human and ET science research base under the ice. And we already talked about the scientists. They're just recapping everything that we just talked about. The letter itself is very long. I'm not going to read it, but give me 1 second here. There was something that I thought was kind of interesting. Because here we go. So picking up mid-letter, he's talking about like another unique issue with the South Pole Station is that our aircraft was not allowed to fly over a certain area designated 5 miles from the station. The reason stated because of air sampling camp in that area. This did not make any sense to any of us on the crew because on 2 different occasions, we had to fly over this area. One time, due to a medical evacuation of the Australian camp called Davis Camp. It was on the opposite side of the continent, and we had to refuel at the South Pole, and a direct course to this Davis Camp was right over the air sampling station. The only thing we saw going over this camp was a very large hole going into the ice. You could fly one of our LC-130s into this thing. It was after the medvac mission we were briefed by some spooks, intelligence agents I presumed, from Washington and told not to speak of the area we flew over. The other time we got close to the air sampling camp, we had navigation and electrical failures on the aircraft and was told to immediately depart the area and report to our squadron commanding officer when we returned to McMurdo. Needless to say, our pilot, aircraft commander, got his butt chewed, and our crew was not on the South Pole supply run for over a month. There were many other times we saw things that was out of the ordinary. But no, that was just one small snippet of the letter. And the thing that I find interesting and kind of amusing is that you still have the men in black down in Antarctica. They're everywhere.
Well, they have to control the flow of information, right?
Yeah, but it's just amazing. Like such a remote location, you still end up with, quote, spooks telling you didn't see anything. You're not going to talk about it.
You think
Swamp
they're wearing black parkas?
Maybe with like the black furred hoodies or something.
Oh, you know what? Instead of having those like men in black sunglasses, the Ray-Bans, they wear like the full goggles on their face.
Yeah. They would have the mask and the goggles and everything. But yeah, I just thought that little snippet was really interesting because that's something that you hear a lot with maybe not just military people, but eyewitnesses, civilians saying, I saw this, I experienced this, and then this person or this being came to me and told me not to say anything. So I don't know. I just found that really interesting that even in our Antarctica is not excluded from this experience.
Now, this may be a true story, or this person fell asleep during the, I think, what season of Stargate SG-1 was it? Where they were, oh no, that was no, wait a second. Because there was a North Pole and Antarctica connection, I think, on the first episode of Stargate Atlantis. Do you know, Brad? There was they were fighting aliens in Antarctica it was either an episode or 2 of Stargate SG-1 or the pilot episode of Stargate Atlantis. Do you remember?
I never watched Atlantis.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
Nope.
Okay. Do you remember on SG-1 if there was something going on in Antarctica?
Quite honestly, I watched maybe the first 2 or 3 seasons.
Oh, the good ones with all the
2. Well, that's
Showtime.
Yeah, well.
No, I'm kidding.
No, for some reason when I was reading this letter and reading the story, I couldn't help but think about there's a movie with Gary Busey's son where he's like a scientist.
We brought this up, and anytime that Antarctica gets mentioned, this
and they're talking about like the hole in the ice, and that was like Robo Hitler. Yeah, like I always think about that.
And there was aliens too, or they had like flying saucers, or
they had flying saucers that they had created to escape or something. I don't remember.
They needed a smartphone to be able to process. Yeah,
different movie.
Oh, was it
Iron Sky?
All the crap movies just blend together in my
They
head.
do.
Iron Sky 2, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. All right. Cool. I love these kind of stories.
But yeah, if you want to read the full letter, which, like I said, it's kind of lengthy, we'll have the links posted in the show notes, because it's like the 7tales.weebly.com, and then there's a bunch of other stuff after it. So
hey, we used to have our website on Weebly a year ago. We switched over to
it's so long ago.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Anessa. Thank you, Brad. Those are great stories, and like Anessa said, we'll have the links in the show notes. And I mentioned this earlier in the podcast. I'll mention it again. Patreon.com/Galactic Netcasts. We're going to be recording our bonus episode for the $5 a month pledgers after this show is done. So if you want in on that, if you want to listen to that bonus podcast episode, go to patreon.com/Galactic Netcasts and give that $5 a month, or just give as little as $1 a month, just to say, hey, I like what you guys are doing. I support it. Let me help you out with those costs like web hosting, audio hosting, and some other stuff. We're not trying to make a lot of money. We're not trying to get rich. We're just trying to, as they say, keep the lights on. So patreon.com/Galactic Netcasts. You got your $1. You got your $3, which gets you a special newsletter every month with bonus stories about concerning or relating to the podcasts on the network. And like I said, the $5 will get you the extra podcast episode, which we are going to be recording after we get done with this episode tonight. So one more time, patreon.com/Galactic Netcasts. Brad, are you ready for the sighting?
I think so.
All right, here we go.
Please identify the craft you witnessed.
A black, triangular, three-dimensional shape, huge, just flying, hovering minutes.
Shaped like almost like between an egg and like a teardrop.
Two long cylinder objects flying over me.
It had a dome. I could see the occupants in it.
It appeared to be rotating, and it was on circular and disc shape, and it hovered for maybe about 5 minutes.
All right. It's a sighting. What did we see this week?
Well, this is from just this past December 17th. And this was reported. I saw this and I immediately fell in love with the person who wrote up this sighting.
All right.
And you'll know why shortly. The location of this was Norfolk, Virginia.
Sorry, I'm reading ahead.
Yeah, see, she's reading ahead and she's laughing. I'm going to read this report pretty much verbatim, okay? And it's a thing of beauty. All right. So, summary. I wouldn't have believed what I saw with my own eyes if I was by myself, but my mother was with me and we both saw the exact same thing.
It sounds like penthouse letters.
Dear Mufon, I never thought this would happen to me. We need to write that. All right. Sighting time, 1 a.m. There's a question mark after it. Day or night, nighttime, number of witnesses 2, duration 20 seconds, but felt like forever.
Yes.
Appearance, description of objects. L. I'm going to assume large is what the L is. Size of objects. Size of objects 3.5 or 4 feet, maybe.
Maybe it was an L shape.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
I don't know.
Appearance, description of object. Yep. That must be what they're trying to say. It's an L-shaped craft. Okay. Description of area, surroundings. Urban, late at night, so no other cars were around. Full description and details. Okay. Hang on to your chairs. Here we go.
I'm hanging.
All right. My mom picked me up at about 1 a.m. from a friend's house in Ghent. I was 17 at the time. We're in the car at Granby Street at a stoplight by Delaware Ave when we see something short running frantically in the middle of the street, zigzag, with a black hoodie on, and my mom says, I hopes that's not a little kid, so she slows down towards it. And it unhumanly possible so fast, it is not even a second and leaves a trail, sort of when from the other side of the road to my window, on the passenger side, about 40 feet in less than... There There's no punctuation in this thing whatsoever.
It might be my niece.
I'm trying to read this and I'm running out of air. That's why I had to pause there. Okay. But it wasn't human and had huge blacked out eyes, white hair, no lips, and a lot of jagged fang-like teeth, a weird pale greenish skin color. I never took my eyes off it and said, it looks like goo, but I'm going to say go. Go, Mom, go. While my mom, different from me, more of an investigator, said, what is that? As she pressed the gas. Not as fast as I would have liked, but I guess because it was staring me right in the eye and not her, I don't know what it was and never talked about it much until I got older because I was so scared I never wanted to see it again. I thought it was like a demon, and maybe it was, but I was watching a movie about people who had... I'm sorry. Okay. About people who had been abducted and saw this lady draw out what an alien hybrid looked like, and it was similar to what I saw, and it was no way possible it could have been human. The mouth was small, and when it smiled, it went far across the face. Again, if I was the only one in the car that night, I would have said, wow, I'm just crazy, and kept driving because I am a skeptic myself. But there is no denying what I saw was non-human. The smile made it seem like friendly almost, but the face was so scary. I was petrified.
Okay.
Now.
My God.
We're going to continue on, and hopefully if you've been paying attention, you'll notice something that kind of would render this description or this information sort of more sketchy. Okay, I'm going to continue on. Can sighting be explained as any conventional man-made or natural object? Heck no! I love that answer. Heck no! Witness background. Born and raised in Norfolk, Virginia. Dental field.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I said. Views on UFOs before and after sighting. Didn't believe in anything. Now I believe in anything. Reported sighting? Yes. Reported to a few friends. Your location? Norfolk, Virginia, USA. Age 31.
Who I blame for this? I blame the internet. I blame commenting on Facebook for this kind of report. I do.
Well, for him, since he's 31, there was probably some AOL chats in there towards the tail end of his childhood.
The thing that I really, the big takeaway here is if we scroll back and we think to when this happened. 1 a.m. from a friend's house in Ghent. I was 17 at the time.
Okay.
The age now, at the time of reporting, is 31.
Yeah.
So there's been 14 years where, the human brain gets rid of some things and you start to add things to a memory that might not have been there. So, I mean, this eyewitness report really, there's a difference between getting the details, a day or a week after something, but waiting 14 years to write it down without punctuation. Boy, that was hard to read.
But you know what?
If it weren't for the Norfolk, Virginia, I would think that would be my niece. Because one, he's going into the he's dental person, dental hygienist. I don't know what they are. But she's going into... Oh, she's going to be a surge tech, and she writes like this without punctuation. And it drives me absolutely bonkers.
Now, am I saying that this didn't actually happen to the person? I don't know. But the write-up of this, if I were from MUFON, I would go, wow, that's an interesting story, and move on, because, again, you've had 14 years to cogitate and expand upon and delete, from your mind. It was just natural. Things get swept away. So, I mean, if somebody were to come back and go, hey, got your report, I'd like to get a few more details. those little cemented, details that could cement this as a more credible eyewitness report are probably gone.
Well, the other thing that I'm thinking though too, as far as the time frame, is if you're 17, you're not really gonna care enough to seek out MUFON or any other UFO agency to report this in the first place. And then if you're going to college, doing life things, you're probably not going to think about it. So it might be one of those things where he's like, oh, hey, like I've told this story so many times while I'm drunk, and someone was like, hey, you should totally go to this site.
Which leads me to the next point. He got picked up at a friend's house at 1 a.m. When I was 17 and it was 1 a.m. and I was at a friend's house, there was stuff going on, and I'm not sure I would have been in the condition where I may or may not have been able to give an accurate, report on anything. I mean, for all we know, it was a balloon, the helium balloon that had some of the air or the helium out of it, and it was just kind of floating down the street, and he was just drunk as heck. And
I think we can chalk this up to alcohol, definitely, or something else.
Or something.
Yeah.
I love the fact that the size of object, he doesn't talk about the craft. So this being was L-shaped, and perhaps 3 to 4 feet, maybe. But that's the other thing.
Well, they don't normally have like, did you see a craft or did you see a UFO? Check here, So I think he was just like, I don't know. LOL. Forgot the OL. And he doesn't really talk about a craft. He talks about like a being.
Yeah. Which, I mean, again, I don't think this is. Yeah. I think with this particular type of report, it doesn't specify if it was a craft or a creature or whatever. It just, fill out what you saw and
I don't think they really have too many hard and fast rules. I think anybody can report anything as long as it's somewhat related to extraterrestrials or an unidentified object.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Cool. I like that sighting very much. Thank you, Brad.
It is now my favorite sighting ever.
All right. Let's get into our picks and warnings this week. And Anessa, you're just putting yours in now. Do you want me to, one of us, go first?
No, I can totally talk about it. Like, I don't need to have it in the show notes. Here's the link. It's in there.
Bam!
Alien versus Ninja. I mentioned last week that was going to be my pick or warning. Totally more of a warning than a pick. It may potentially be a movie where you could sit there and poke fun of it with your friends, but I'm still kind of questioning that as well. Kind of. I don't know. But I wouldn't watch this movie alone. Brad started watching it with me. He fell asleep, but he was also like super tired. So
I prayed to the gods to let me sleep.
And they did.
And they visited.
But a comet, the essential story is a comet crashes into a Japanese forest, and a group of mighty ninjas, a group of ninjas end up witnessing this comet crash. They head back to their village, and they're told by their master or whoever that they need to go investigate. And so while they're investigating, they discover aliens. Therefore, Alien versus Ninja. I don't know. I like the idea of Alien versus Ninja. You've got cowboy versus aliens or cowboys versus aliens. Yeah.
Yep.
And just, different things versus that. And this movie to me the idea has a lot of potential, but the execution was kind of poor. At some point, there's a few fight scenes. They try to exaggerate the gore, which is kind of hokey. But the other thing too is that like part ways through, you get kind of a softcore Skinemax vibe out of it, because they have this one woman ninja, one woman warrior, and she's up against the alien and she's fighting him, and at some point she has her legs like wrapped around him and she's just like punching this alien in the face, and rather than focus on the alien getting a beating, they zoom in on like the hips for both species. And all you need is like an alien penis there, and you've got porn.
Oh yeah.
The alien was very hokey. The first thing I thought was Flipper when they first started to reveal the alien.
Oh, Flipper the dolphin?
The dolphin.
It had kind of a porpoise.
It had a porpoise mouth thing going on. But up where the eyes would be in the blowhole, it had a bunch of holes, and apparently that's where the baby aliens come from. I don't know. It has magically appearing tail. Prehensile tail. But yeah, overall it was just a really cheesy movie, and I think there was a lot of potential there that they missed out on, and it could have been more. But yeah, if you're gonna watch this, watch it with friends. Maybe have a party so you're half paying attention and not really missing out on life.
So it's not a serious look at possible interaction of humans and aliens.
Not one bit.
Even a little bit.
Okay. All right. I got it. Is that all?
It's dubbed in English. And I found it on the Hulu.
You got something. You got it's got some redeeming qualities then, I guess.
So, well, I mean, it probably I kind of would like to
No.
I would like to have seen it maybe with the Japanese, well, you know, like the English subtitles to see more of what the translation was, because you know when they dub, they try to keep it in tune with the lips, so it's not too weird.
Most times, subtitles are better than an actual.
Right. So I kind of would have liked to have seen some of the commentary. Maybe I would have liked it more with a closer related dialogue to the original. But yeah, I don't know. It was okay. 4.3 on the IMDb. So
how many flying saucers will you give it?
1.5.
All right. All right, Brad, what's your pick or warning this week?
Pick or warning? Well, so annually, some friends of mine and I get together and we do Man's Woodworking Weekend. It's like deer camp for those of you who hunt. We do some woodworking during the day, and then at night we have beverages and just hang around and play some cribbage or watch some movies or whatever. And somebody had brought the movie Freaks of Nature. Now, it has a very interesting premise, and that premise is, what if there was a town in a world where humans, vampires, and zombies all live together. They all exist, and they live in this particular town for this particular story. Okay. What would that life be like? And it's really intriguing how things are structured, because the story really focuses on 3 kids in a high school. So this is a high school coming of age movie with a look at, if you were to strip away the, I'm going to sound pretentious as hell here. If you were to strip away the artifice, it's really a story of class divisions. You know, so you have the jock, you have the, I'll get to the female vampire character, and then you have the brainy kid who his father doesn't understand him, and everything's about his older brother who's supposed to get a sports scholarship, but he gets seriously injured, and now everybody's got to pitch in to, you know, help him out, and he's got to give up his dreams of going to college. So what does somebody do that has a promising future, being a scientist or whatever? You purposely get bit by a zombie, so you become a zombie. Which kind of sets up the, I mentioned we have the jock, now we have essentially the stoner, because the interesting structure that they did for the zombies is that the brain is almost like a drug to a zombie. And when they consume brains, they become completely thoughtless. They can't think because it's like a drug for them. And if they quote unquote detox or don't eat brains for a while, they can start to think a little bit more clearly like they were when they were alive, which I thought was kind of an interesting take on the zombie. The third character, the female vampire character, is very interesting because it really kind of brings home the thought of, and it's something that's been explored before, but it was interesting to see it couched in the vampire mythos. Here is this sweet, innocent girl who has a boyfriend and he wants her to give it up. And what he wants her to give it up for is to turn her into a vampire. And now she has to live with the stigma. Well, she has to unlive with the stigma of purposely being turned into a vampire. So it's like there's a form of slut shaming. So it was really kind of an interesting, it's like discussing moral tales, but dressing it in something else. So, maybe not necessarily that it's more palatable, but something else to, make you think about.
Okay.
Interesting actors in this. Dennis Leary is in this movie.
Whoa. Wait a second. What year was this?
That is, it's not too long ago.
Okay.
Last year, 2015.
Oh, wow. Okay. Dennis Leary. Okay.
Yeah. Dennis Leary, Bob Odenkirk, Better Call Saul.
Wow.
Yeah. He's the jock's dad. And we were commenting on this. The jock, Dag is the character's name. He's so close to being John Cusack, it's not even funny. And what's really funny is I was sitting with my friend Rob Benton, and he said, boy, this kid really wants to be John Cusack. And not but like 3 minutes later, we meet his parents, and his parents are Bob Odenkirk and Joan Cusack.
Close.
Yeah. So why do I have this as a pick for Alien Invasion? That was your next question. I could sense it, Dave Nelson.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Imagine now you have this uneasy detente of these different classes of beings, because humans are kind of treated the best, and then you have the vampires, which are second class, and the zombies are third class citizens. Okay. But now aliens show up.
Wait a second. Hang on. That deserves something here.
Oh, it really does.
Okay.
And then aliens show up.
Oh.
There we go. All right. So these aliens show up, and now the different communities gather at their places of where they gather, and somebody has the speech of, the humans, they must have contacted the aliens and they want to wipe us out. And then the vampires, they're up in arms, and the humans are like, oh, the vampires must have contacted the aliens. They want to wipe us out. And then you flash to the zombies and everybody's, Rrr. It was a funny scene. You had to be there. Anyways, so now all hell breaks loose. Everybody is after everybody else because they believe that the aliens came to destroy the other faction, the other people, for the different, the humans, vampires, zombies. The ending and how this all happens, how everything takes place, is truly wonderful. And watching these different characters grow and change, the female character has to now deal with, now she's a vampire, and how does that work? And Dag has got his thing going on, and I can't remember the other character's name. Shoot.
It's okay. Just make one up.
Bob. Bruh.
Floyd. Yeah, there we go. Petra. You know, they mentioned the two main. Oh, Ned. Okay, Ned is the character's name. Yeah. So all three of these characters now it becomes the Breakfast Club at certain points. So it's like if you were to take the Breakfast Club. Gosh, we need to have little injection of John Cusack. So let's say Better Off Dead, and a well, no, I don't want to say Twilight because Twilight was crap. I want a good vampire film, an interesting zombie film, and a really interesting alien film, and then inject a bunch of comedy into it, and then you put it all together, and you have this movie, Freaks of Nature. Now, it is not on Netflix. It is on Amazon Prime. Because this movie is a year old, I'm sure that there are other services where you could find it. But I give it, at least out of 5 saucers, I give it a solid 4.5.
Wow, that's a rare occurrence here on the Alien Invasion podcast to have that high of a rating.
Patton Oswalt shows up. Patton Oswalt is in this movie as well. Yeah,
alien leader.
Peele from Key and Peele, or no, Key from Key and Peele is in the film. They have a lot of interesting, really good people in this film, and they show up, and they just, it's really wonderful, really funny, and well worth watching, especially in the way they structure the story, because you kind of jump in at the very beginning of, okay, here's what happened, here's where we are right now, and then they have a flash to, like 48 hours before. And then it kind of brings you back up to that point within, maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes. And then the film kind of goes to that point and then continues on. Because once you get to that point where the movie starts, then, I mean, the core part of the whole tale, everything has come to a head, and now the aliens show. And then the other hour of the film deals with the aftermath. So it's well worth a watch. Freaks of Nature.
All right. Cool. Good enough. We'll put the links to our picks in the show notes, and you can check it out for yourself. Before we get out of here, we have some feedback, and I'm so glad that you remembered this, Brad, because I totally spaced out.
It was me.
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much.
I reminded you.
You assume that it was Brad, but it was me, because I'm like, oh, hey.
I reminded him like 5, maybe 2 minutes after.
Yeah, because it was posted on my wall and your wall. Yeah, and I was like, wait, there was feedback. Let me go to my wall. So I joined the conversation late because work.
This was from Facebook. And the person said, he wrote, I just wanted to say that I love you guys' podcast. I'm a daily listener. It gets me through work, and you guys are just as much of a nerd as I am. Much funnier, though. I'm sure that you're funny, but you are not blind believers. Yeah, nothing is exempt from criticism. Keep doing what you guys do. Love from Arkansas. I look forward to all your new casts. And this is TC from Facebook. And yeah, exactly. He nailed it. We do not... We're not true believers. We're not we don't believe one thing wholeheartedly. We take a look at everything with a critical eye and make fun of everything equally. So,
nothing is sacred.
Yeah. You can leave feedback by emailing aliens@gncasts.com. Aliens@gncasts. That's GNCASTS.com. Call our voicemail number, 805-328-3966. You can subscribe to our podcast via iTunes. And if you like what you hear, please give us 5-star rating and write a quick review. A couple of sentences would be fine. We're also on Stitcher Smart Radio. You can leave a comment on this episode there as well. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and make a comment there, or give us a thumbs up on the YouTube video. All subscription options and links can be found under the subscribe tab at our website, gncasts.com. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Alien Invasion. Before we completely get out of here, we have to do final thoughts. And as always, Brad goes first.
I am in the process of finishing up the movie Interstellar. Finally.
That's good stuff.
It is.
It's a lesson about what our future could hold if we don't be careful.
Yes.
And there's Matt Damon trapped.
What I find funny is I have now seen the movies. Interstellar came out 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm really spoiling anything.
No,
Matt Damon is a complete ass in Interstellar. So I feel like had I seen Interstellar first and then
The Martian.
The Martian, thank you. Matt Damon would have been redeemed in my eyes, but he is such an irredeemable jackass in Interstellar that I'm like, oh, no, Matt Damon, no. I mean, obviously he's playing a character, but it makes me sad.
I hardly remember his character. I think I was drinking that night we watched it, so
I haven't seen it.
Dr. Mann. Oh, I thought you saw it. That's why I saw it without you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Way to go.
It's okay.
All right. Anessa, what's your final thought?
Jalapenos.
All right. Throwback. That's got to be the title, or what was it? Whitened up?
Whiten it up.
Whitened up Jalapenos. There you go.
Somebody write that down in the doc.
They're gonna be like, "You're racist." I don't mean it to sound racist.
No, it's jokey. Go back to the beginning. We're All right, everybody. Thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next time on the Alien Invasion. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
All right. Audio's done recording. Let me stop the hangout.